Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll learn about DOM, which is Document Object Model. With the HTML DOM, JavaScript can access and change all the elements of HTML documents. So what happens is when the web page is loaded, any web page, the browser creates a document object model of that page in the form of this tree. So you can see any of the web page has all of these elements. It can have HTML tag, head, title, and any of the element which is HTML element. So based on that tree, we can make use of this element and change the element of the HTML document with the help of a JavaScript. So let's take a quick example. You can simply see over here that is a tree is created by the browser in the form of document, which is object model of any page. So we'll just take a quick example and you will see how JavaScript can be used to change all the HTML elements of the page, to change all the HTML attributes of the page. It can also change all the CSS styles. It can remove existing HTML elements like h1 tag over here, text, paragraph, and it can react to all the existing HTML elements event in the page. And JavaScript can also be used to create new HTML elements in the page, like we can replace the event which is existing event to the new event with the help of a JavaScript. So let's take this DOM in the action. So first of all, I have the simple template over here, that is the HTML tag and simply the body and the button saying click me. So let me save this, run in the browser, and let me just refresh this. Then you could see it has shown us that is the button over here. When I press, nothing is happening over here because we are not doing anything with this element, which is the button element of the HTML. So let's try something different over here by making our own script in the JavaScript. So let me just put right side over here. So after the button, I want to create the script. So JavaScript will always start with the script tag as usual. And now we have here that is type JavaScript. Let me just remove this, or let me simply put that here because it is the simple, that is the attribute saying what is the type of this script. So after this script, we'll just make use of a document object. So I'll just say document, which is referring to this current web page, and I want to get the element of this current web page. So you can see we'll have many of the element, but in this case we want to grab this button which have the ID. So we want to grab this element by the ID. That means we have the get element by ID method, which is this method of JavaScript, or basically DOM, and it will just take that is your ID. So in this case, I have my button, which is referring to this button ID. So let me just make this bigger. So you can see we have just grabbed the ID, which is the button ID. So we want to do something with this button. So I'll just add some event listener. So if you just recall, we did something like this in the case of HTML elements event. In the case of the event, we make use of a on click, on mouse over, and all of those events to change the element of the HTML. And we are doing the same with the case of the DOM. We'll just add another, that is method over here, which is add event listener method. So what this does is it will just take two argument over here. So in this case we have a click argument. So click is basically doing same as the on click. So when the user presses that button, we want to call this function. This is the anonymous function. That means it doesn't have any name, so it will be recalled or it will be invoked automatically. So we want to do something over here. So let me just close this add event listener over here with this semicolon. So we want to do something with this button. So when user presses that button, we want to give the alert, which is dialog box, and we'll say you have read DOM events. So we'll just do this. Let me just put a semicolon at the end over here. So what we did over here was we just take the event, which is the ID of the button, which is basically the button HTML elements with this method, and we add the event, which is click event, to this button, and when user presses that button, this function will be automatically invoked. So what we did here was this function has been called automatically. It do not need to be revoked with his name, because this is the function that doesn't have any name, because this is the anonymous function, and we make use of this function to give the alert to this user. So you can do anything over here inside of this anonymous function. So let me just save this and let me just open over here. Let me run with this enter. Then you can see simply a click me. Let me just click here and it is not happening anything. Let me just go back and see what is happening over here. So let me just see if it is a simple small click. Let me just go back and let me just press this again, and you can see here we get this you have read DOM events. So that means you have the alert, which is the method which is responsible to create this alert was invoked automatically when the user presses this click to that event. You can also give another on mouse over, which is basically the another listener over here. So you can just save this down, go back to Mozilla, and when I just do something like on mouse over, so on mouse over is not valid. It must be something like mouse over. Maybe mouse over is the one. Let me just go over here. So I think this on was only for the event. If I just save this down, it must work. Let me just go here. Let me just refresh, and when I just hover the mouse to this button, you'll just get you have read DOM event, which is the method over here, which is going to give us alert. So you can just change this event over here. Let me say mouse out, which is another event which was responsible when you just get the mouse after, or basically wherever you want, but beyond that the events are basically the button. So you can see we make use of a DOM over here, which was the document object model, and it has the method over here taking this ID, and we want to add some event to that ID, or basically to that HTML element, and that was the event listener. On this case, we want to make use of this event, and we want to call this function of the JavaScript, which is going to do some event for us. So this can be pretty handy when we just hunt for the XSS attack, or the basically any type of attack where the JavaScript is responsible to show some of the events or some of the changes in the HTML elements. Based on that, we can just predict this payload can be better than any other. So basically we'll have some intuition that this will be better, because we'll just see what the event was responsible for changing the HTML elements. That means we can just make this payload, or the simple payload for the HTML injection, and we can see the XSS attack or the vulnerabilities in the website with this attack or with these events too. So we'll just see some of the attacks or making the payloads in the upcoming lecture with the DOM. See you in the next one.